Awesome. All right, so let's dive in. When did you start music?
College.
Yeah.
College. I've always been a singer. I grew up in the church. My dad was a deacon in the Southern Baptist Church. So I grew up singing. I grew up singing in front of people. That was the big thing, is learning how to get in front of. There's nobody more judgmental than a bunch of Southern Baptists. So if you can stand up in front of them and sing, it will.
You got thick skin.
You got thick skin. If I have to hear one more parent tell me that I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket, that would throw most kids off of the path. But I sang all through high school. I was in the choir. I did a lot of musical theater. Always enjoyed being in front of people. Always enjoyed singing and just art, expressing myself.
Interesting.
But I never played an instrument.
Okay, so that was college. So music your whole life.
Yeah,
but instruments college.
I've been singing along to the radio since I can remember. But it wasn't until freshman year at college, picked up a guitar and started teaching myself how to play the guitar. And once that happened, the shitty poetry I'd been writing my entire life started turning into shitty songs. And then that started the evolution of just trying to become, like, the craft of songwriting took over, and it became something I became very passionate about. I was going to school for political science and history at North Carolina State University, and very quickly all of my attention turned from academics to songwriting. I was going to see 6 or 7 shows a week. I was driving to Chapel Hill, Cat's Cradle. Anything that came through Raleigh, I just wanted to see live music. And once I got bit by that bug, once I came to the realization, because I grew up in Reedsville, we didn't have music venues. We didn't have the nearest thing we had was the Greensboro Coliseum. I did not know. I thought there was 2 kinds of musicians. I thought there was like Tim McGraw, like the biggest of the big, and then there was like your drunk uncle that played like guitar at a bonfire, like at the family reunion. Like, I had zero idea there was this middle ground, this independent music scene where you could travel around the country and play music in front of a couple hundred people a night and make a living doing it.
Yeah.
So once I moved to Raleigh and I found that existed, that you didn't have to be CMT, Billboard Top 40 to be successful in the music business, that's when I started, because I was going to see a bunch of indie rock bands and they were just like shitty musicians and shitty singers, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I could at least do that.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I got that in the bag.
Right.
And so I started a band, and we were bad at first, but then a year later we were a little better, and then 2 years later we were a little better. And then once we started touring and playing 250, 300 shows a year, we started getting pretty good pretty quick.
Wow.
And fast forward 18 years since our first record came out, here I am. Just sticking with it and being too stubborn to walk away from it.
Well, why would you, man? You're getting bigger and bigger, and I imagine you're the biggest you've ever been right in this moment.
Yeah, we always there's a joke on the bus that's just, as long as this year's better than last year and next year's better than this year, we're trending.
You're absolutely
in the right direction.
That's cool, man. Golly, so. I grew up playing drums, and music has always been a part of my life, but I never had the nuts to just go full in.
It's a big disconnect. It's taking off the parachute. It's jumping off the edge of the cliff, knowing that there's not just a very good chance, like a very high probability that you're going to crash. And not make it.
Right.
Less than 2% of people that ever pick up a guitar ever end up doing it their entire life. Like, it's the fail rate is extremely high. Like, anything else you're trying to do, like when they tell you that like 98% of the people that ever try to do this are going to fail at it. Yeah. Like, it takes a certain kind of person to be like, oh no, I'm going to be in that 2%. That's easy.
That's right.
But yeah, it took a lot of. You have to have a lot of confidence in yourself, and you have to believe in the product that you're making.
Where's that hard work come from?
My dad. My dad and my mom, my whole family. Like, I was lower middle class growing up. Both my parents worked really hard jobs. I grew up. My whole dad's side of the family were farmers, tobacco farmers. So I would have been a 7th generation if I'd have stuck around Reedsville. But I got the bright idea to go to college and do some book learning. But it comes from my dad, who woke up every morning at 5 o'clock and went into a job that he hated. Because he had something bigger to take care of. He had a family. He had my dad went into work every day. I know my dad did not want to go into work and sell auto parts every day. That was not what he thought his calling in this life was supposed to be. but it was a way for him to put a roof over his family's head and put food in their bellies every single night. And my mom was the same way. My mom worked 2 jobs her entire life, my entire life, and never missed anything. I never missed out on amazing parents that bent over backwards. Like, as a parent now, I do not know how they did what they did with what they had. I have zero idea how they made it work. On paper, it does not work.
Wow.
But growing up, it was just this, and it was about sacrifice. You get to a certain age where you learn, like, holy shit, like, the reason we have what we have is because my parents just didn't take anything.
Mm-hmm.
They gave it all to us. They made sure that we never missed a trip. We never missed a seminar, a leadership camp, anything growing up. And it was all because my parents were like, okay, we're just going to have to, we're not going to be able to go out and eat for an anniversary this year. We're not going to be able to go on a trip this year together. It's for the kids. And, my dad always says, me and my brother both miraculously, the heathens that he raised grew up to be 2 functioning members of society. He was like, it was all worth it. He was like, watching you guys completely excel at what you chose to do. That's all a parent wants. That's all a parent wants, is to have a better life than you had. Give your kids a better life than you had and watch them absolutely thrive.
Yeah.
So let's just call it what it is. Top 40 country music is trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator. They want as many people to pack out the local Enormo shed every summer when they come through town. They need 15,000 people. So they're not trying to write anything that makes you feel feelings.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe they'll hint at nostalgia. That's the one thing that I found that Top 40 Country does a really good job at, of really kind of trying to tap into nostalgia. But at the end of the day, they're trying to stay right down the middle. They don't want to take a stand on anything.
Yeah, they might turn
because if they take a stand on anything,
and
that fraction might be 5,000 tickets.
Right.
And you need 5,000 tickets to sell out the 40,000 person room. So a lot of that stuff's just cold beer, pretty girl, pickup truck, dirt road, and you can only hear so many of those songs every hour on the hour for a couple years before you're like, this is just vapid. Mm-hmm. Like this is not anything. There's no substance here.
Right.
And then you look at the credits and you realize that insert whatever big country artist, like, he didn't even write the song.
Right.
He paid 6 guys to write a song about how much he loves his wife. Like, get out of here. Like, that's not that's not authentic to me. I love picking up a record, looking on the back, and it says, this record was written by this guy. Crier is a song about mental health. Crier is a song about breaking down the stereotype that men can't feel feelings, that men can't cry. Yes. That men aren't supposed to cry, that it's a sign of, because I was brought up that generation.
Oh, yeah.
And the boomers were all that way. The boomers were all, if a man cries, it's a sign of weakness, and somebody will exploit that weakness. So you can't ever cry in front of people, because then they'll know they can get you on something. I think our generation has normalized it to a probably the most historic level it's ever been, but there's still that generation of parents that still taught their kids that, and their kids are going to teach their kids that. Mm-hmm. And I'm just trying to break down that norm that it's okay to feel feelings.
Right.
Like it's totally normal that if something traumatizes you, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to feel it. You don't have to hold it up. You don't have to carry that emotional burden by yourself. So we put it in a song.
Yeah.
We just wrote a song about how in every aspect of your life, when something bad happens, you cry. Like when you're born, that's how they prove that you're alive, is to make you cry.
Right.
Like that's how you can prove that you are a human being, is by crying. And then the first time you hurt yourself as a kid, nobody makes fun of you for crying. Like when you fall off your bike and you skin your knee up, like that's okay. And then your first heartbreak, that's what the third verse is about, is the first time somebody loves you and then doesn't love you. And then crying.
That one hurts.
And it goes back to, we even, the bridge throws it back to dealing with your feelings is essential to survival. Hell, it's right there in the it's right there in the shortest verse in the Bible. And it's talking about how, like, all these super macho guys, like their role model is like this religious figure. And it's like, even that dude cried.
Right.
Even that dude just like sat down and just wept.
Let it out. Yeah.
So it's about kind of normalizing that and trying. And it's funny because we disguised it in like the most rock and roll song on the record. It's a big,
it's a phenomenal song,
rock
by
and
the
roll
way.
song. So it's got all this machismo, but then it's talking about like how it's okay to just cry.
On your boy's shoulder.
Yeah, it's a Trojan horse for some folks. It's oh my God, I like this song. Like it's really upbeat and driving. And then
what's it about?
Fourth or fifth listen at 3 a.m. by yourself, you're like, shit, he's right. It is okay to feel things.
All I really want to do is put words to the emotions that most people have a difficult time expressing on their own. No matter what the emotion is, when you put it into a song and then get to those moments when a whole bunch of people are singing that song all together, it makes you see that you're part of something bigger than you ever realized. That's when you can really affect people's lives. And to me, this record is another stepping stone to making that a reality. You're a songwriter, brother.
Yeah. It's not for everybody. Because you have to look yourself in the mirror every day. And if you're being honest with yourself, most people just want to write about the good stuff. They want to write about the good times.
And there's a place for that.
There is a place for that. There's plenty of places for that. But you also have to be able to look in the mirror and see the ugly stuff and not run from it. You have to see the cracks. You have to see the breaks. And you have to be like, okay, that's just as important to write about as writing about all the good stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, songs ain't Instagram. I ain't just posting the good shit. Like songs are about getting into some of the darker stuff.
Life.
You know, we talk about death. We talk about miscarriage. We talk about recovery. We talk about failure. We talk about losing just about anything you can lose in this lifetime. And it's not because I want to bum people out or make people sad. It's because when you drag that scary thing inside in the corner, out of the corner, and you put it in the middle of the room in front of everybody, and you put a big old spotlight on it, it's not as scary anymore. And when everybody else in that room who has always been scared of that thing in the corner realizes that everybody else was scared of it, you're not alone anymore. So multiply that by 2,000 people in a room. And when you start talking about, like for me, it's like if I play a song about losing my mom, that's a very specific thing in my life that I need to talk about. Shine a light out on those people. Every single one of those people have lost somebody that mattered to them. And they don't hear that song as me singing about my mom. They hear that song about losing their best friend from high school in a drunk driving accident, or losing their grandmother to dementia, or losing somebody. And in that one moment, they're not alone in it. They're not grieving alone. They're grieving with 2,000 other people. They're there for the same fucking reason as them. And it becomes way easier to deal with that stuff. It becomes way easier to be like, okay, I can get through this because I know everybody, not all of us can crumble under this pressure. We're going to all get through this. And so that's the hardest part about being a songwriter, is learning that nothing is off the table. There's some people who write songs like, oh, I'm sharing too much. That looks weak, or that looks so like I have to portray this image for my band, or like, I can't be that real in a song. And songwriting should be that real. Songwriting, somebody should be able to find a piece of themselves in every single one of those songs. Whether it's a good song, like there's a song on the new record about eating tomato sandwiches at my grandma's house.
Cherokee Purples.
Cherokee Purples. Like find a moment like that, and that's happy. That's joy. Like every single person that hears that song is like, oh my God, give or take a few details, that was my grandma's house, or my mama's house, or my meemaw's house, my nanny's house. Whatever you called her, that was her house in the summertime as a kid. And you realize that your experience wasn't too much different from your neighbor. And at that point in time, it's no male, female. It's no left or right, blue team, red team. We were just a bunch of humans being raised by a bunch of humans that had no idea what they're fucking doing. And you find these common grounds. And that's what I love as a songwriter, is finding those common threads that kind of run through all of us and just yanking at them a little bit. Yeah. Pulling at them to remind us that, like,
we're all in this together.
There's only a few things we really disagree about. Right. There's only a few things. Other than that, we all kind of have the same experience. We live, we die, we love, we lose. And if you can remind people of that, like, it's the coolest job in the world. Like, I'll never complain about my gig. Like, I get to make people feel feelings every night. I get to remind people that it's okay to be a fucking human being, that you can fail. I failed. I fell flat on my face so many times. But it's all about picking yourself up that one time. You can fall 99 times, but if you pick yourself up that one more time, you overcame it. You overcame that thing that was tripping you up. Like, that's the best feeling, is knowing that people's lives are affected by shit I made up on my couch. Blows my mind.
I love it.
Appreciate you, man.
DJ Barham.
Heck yeah.
American Aquarium. Thank you, brother.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me on.